It's 2:05, so we're going to start this session. It's the online lecture during Students for Rivers Camp, which we officially kicked off yesterday with the game night. And we're excited to see many of you. Everyone that joined in, feel free to write a little message in the chat saying where you're from and what your home river is, so we got a bit of a clue who is all joining in here. I'm going to take the first 5 minutes to quickly introduce the River Collective and the organization behind this week, actually, why we set it up. And then I'm going to give the word to Davin, and he's going to introduce all the session of today, who we have as lecturers, and the panel discussion afterwards. So I'm going to quickly share my screen so you can see a bit of presentation I prepared. There we go. Right. So as I said, like, we're organizing the Students for Rivers Camp with the River Collective, which in principle is a group of friends, kayakers that came together, I think, more than a year ago. And we started to get different people together that wanted to protect rivers. And more we realized we actually need people from all different disciplines. So we're not only kayakers, but we're scientists, we're people that care about art, we believe like people from law background. All the different directions are important to bring together. And more we started to actually do projects. And so that's why we call it, like, it's a collaborative network that brings together science and conservation. And as said, it's about bringing different disciplines together. Where did this actually come from? We got quite inspired by the Balkan Peninsula, which is in Europe, but it's quite unknown. And it's a place with super many beautiful, still quite free-flowing, pristine rivers. And there's a reason they call it the Blue Heart of Europe. And it's a place that's at this moment being threatened by a lot of dam projects. So there's a lot of dam projects going on, and you see all the red dots on this map are actually all dams that are being constructed or planned to be constructed potentially. So we felt like, okay, we want to do something, and we want to bring more people together to do something against it. Last year we were at the Socia Valley in Slovenia, and this year we were planning to go to the Lim Valley in Montenegro to organize a camp where students from different disciplines would come together and brainstorm ideas to actually protect the Lim River. As you all know, this couldn't take place. We couldn't go to Montenegro this year. So we started to organize this online, and actually it opened up to more possibilities, because now we can connect with all people around the world, and to actually also discuss all the context around this hydropower boom. Because we feel it's important to not only do something to protect the river, like to know which animals, for instance, live there, but really to take a broader look. So how are we doing this? Like as said, we try to bring together people at this moment online, but also just locally. And we really try to exchange knowledge, because we believe that if people come together from different disciplines, like that encourages to at some point take action and to really stand up for the rivers. This week we've got quite a varied program, I would say. Like today we have this lecture and a panel discussion later. Tonight we have a movie night. We have the different workshops where art and science come together. And also we have a day where many students from all around are going to come together and really work on different projects that we hope to pilot next year in Montenegro. We're also quite excited about coming Sunday, because I think that's quite, like, we will have the Home River BioBlitz, and it's a project that really shows what we believe that collaboration can do. So all around the world, we already have more than 40 projects happening. People will go out to their own river and will be checking the biodiversity of the river. So it's really like a kind of science coming into action. So it's a day enjoying the river, but also really exploring what's living there. And for you guys, it's a way to really experience what citizen science can do and what the potential of it is. And like therefore seeing what action can actually do for the river. So instead of that map with the red dots that I showed earlier of the Balkans, we're working towards a map that has green, or in this case, white dots. So these are all the places around the world where this home river bioblitz will be happening coming Sunday. So we're really excited to see that like all around the world, people are enjoying their rivers, caring for their rivers, and are at this moment getting motivated to actually just go out and do science on their own rivers. So that's kind of the way we're working. We started last year, and we're quite excited about how it's growing. And therefore, we're now making it possible to also join as a member. And want to emphasize that this is not making anything exclusive, because we find it important to be open to anyone to join and to have access to anything we organize, or that any knowledge that we would bring together. So anyone can join our activities either way, but by being a member, you really show that you care about what we're organizing, and it's a way of supporting us actually. So yeah, we invite you to become a member as well. So that's a bit the River Collective. At this moment, we've been working on this camp with 6 people. They're all here. So I want to quickly thank them a lot. It's Sandra and Jess and David here, Ellie next to me, and Jens. And it's been cool, like it's all people also from a different background, and like the enthusiasm that's been going on actually from the moment that we decided to go online, because it got the uncertainty of this whole year a bit away, right? And we got pretty excited about all that's possible, and that people are now also at their homes and organizing things locally. So we hope that this is a way that more people enjoy collaborations around their home rivers. That's been enough of me talking. I'm going to give the word to David, who's going to monitor the rest of this session. And he's going to introduce our lecturers. And I hope you enjoy this. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks a lot, Vera, for this nice introduction. Yeah, I'm David, and I will be moderating the rest of the session. But now we talked enough. Let's give the word to our 2 first guests, Vuk Ikovic and Srdan Peric, both from Montenegro, and biologists, activists, consultants. They will now tell us a bit about the context in Montenegro. So what's going on? What's the state of the rivers and nature? What's the socio-political context? So we learn more about this. They will both do some short presentations, and we will follow up with a short Q&A, where you guys can also ask questions. So feel free to use the chat or the Q&A button you find on the bottom of the screen, of your screen, to ask questions. Also during the talks, whatever comes to mind, so that it's there and we can use it later. And we will end this session at around 15, and will be followed up by the panel discussion, where new guests will come in. And but now, Vuk and Srdan, please.
Hey, first of all, many thanks for the invitation. My name is Srdan Peric, and I'm coming from organization code from Montenegro, and I prepare a few words about the organization code, about the political context, about the general activist context, and about lessons learned from our organization in process of civil activism. So I'm sharing with you right now my PowerPoint. So let me start. There is a motto of our organization. It is the road to the common good. Sorry. Let me to introduce in short the organization code. The organization code was founded in 2017. In a very short time, it became recognizable to the Montenegrin public. The main topic of the organization are addressed to citizens' problems with concrete problem-solving assistance, and also we are making great effort in promoting sustainable development. Our field of action is the rule of law, the the protection of nature, and in general, the influence on public policy making. We launched 40 small initiatives and several big ones. In this period, we succeeded to develop the basic video production. Our recent video production has over 10 million views dominantly per total, dominantly for Montenegro in social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. Also, we have very good media coverage in traditional media, and members of the organization are professors, engineers, lawyers, but also young activists. The organization code has 31 active members, 62 associates, and around 300 supporters of our activities on various fields. The basic principle in the organization is volunteering and involving as many people as possible in the work of the organization code activities. At the end, the organization code has its own small video studio, as well as production company, which is established in 2019, which is supposed to fund the organization activities from the profits it generates. So it is the idea about the organization codes. So a few words about the current political situation and the legal framework. On August 13, parliamentary elections were held in Montenegro, and we have a huge change here in Montenegro. We entered the political era from the pre-political era, and there are now numerous challenges. By the way, the previous ruling political party was the formal successor of the Communist Party and has ruled since 1990. There are many debates about who and how much contributed to that change. By my opinion, it is true that in addition to political parties, many other segments contributed, from religious organizations, media, civil sector, to activists on the ground. The good thing is that the new government have definitely want to change things, and that, like any government, it will be initially very sensitive to suggestions. It is my opinion. The good news is for environmentalists is that one list that will be part of the future government has openly promoted the declaration banning the further construction of small hydropower plants. According to the constitution, before this slide, Montenegro is in an ecological state. In order for that decision to be changed, as many as 60% of all registered voters should vote, which is almost impossible. So formally, legally, the significance of that potential is understood. However, the long-standing government deviated from that concept when huge investors would be on the other side. And it is the huge problem for the future, for the present, and it is a huge challenge for activists, for new government, and for whole society. The most obvious was the example of small hydropower plants and the construction subsidies for sustainable energy facilities in general, to which citizens already have given about 80 million euros since 2014 through electricity bills and subsidies. That is about just to show how it is a big amount for Montenegrin society. That is about 18% of the pension fund of Montenegro. It is really huge amount. Right now, I would like to emphasize activism here. there were several interesting cases in Montenegro when the government withdrew before the initiatives of the citizens. I am giving to you two specific cases: Cypresses in Bar and the construction of small hydropower plants on River Bukovica. At the very beginning, the situation seemed hopeless, but with the constant pressure at the locals, and then with the help of other entities, from NGOs in the civil sector to professionals and media assistance, it was possible to abandon these projects. Unfortunately, cypresses were cut down in Bar, but it turned out that no building would be built on that place. There was also an interesting thing that the government intended to build a kindergarten there, but on the other hand, the location of the previous kindergarten was planned for construction work. It was the official spin. Circumstances or plan, it is less important right now. At the end, the plan about construction work in place of city greenery is withdrawn, and also the machines were withdrawn from the river Bukovica, and small hydropower plant will not be built there. It is a very good news, and we contributed in both cases to the extent we were able, as many other group of citizens did. Maybe when you are planning to do some activism, you have to have some method. Our method is example as a leader. Let me say that. What does that mean? It is very important that we show determination through concrete action. So, related to that, we launched the 100,000 tree initiatives. We saw that there was a lack of greenery in Podgorica, and we started planting the trees. So we gathered over 300 people throughout through actions. We made 24 videos. We planted several thousand trees till now, made an improvised nursery, openly criticized bad practices, and after that the authorities began to plant trees intensively. Now you can take turn finding the trees lines that we planted and that were planted by the local government, and it is a very good message for us. The action has so far been founded exclusively by citizens, legal entities, and members of organization code who have donated funds. At the beginning, people ridiculed the action as an impossible mission, let me say that. And today, the totally monetary and non-monetary donation amounted is about 21,000 euros. These examples helps us a lot to profile the course of action, and helps us a lot to make more attractive our actions. So in every process you learn some lessons, and in this process we learned several lessons. Maybe the first lesson is that no matter how much injustice there is, if the local community does not react, there is absolutely no progress. Maybe the second lesson is that you have always have in mind a legal aspect, because if you do not have in mind that aspect, your result will be very, very limited. And also, maybe the third lesson was the activist persistence and synergy with the local population is extremely important. A lesson of the organization code is that media coverage of the problem is necessary but not enough. It is you have to have additional value in your activities, and the problem is gently made naked, and we trying to do that, and I think that we did it in many occasions. Unfortunately, you can often meet people who doubt your intentions, but the only way, I think the only way is to give them time to show your results and efforts. Maybe it is the best method. At the end, with zeal and energy and effort, things can still be moved. I think it is maybe the most important our lesson through activism. And also, I would like to look at the most important part for me, and that is enthusiasm. If we are not able to show enthusiasm for what concerns us, then we should not even survive. It is very important for your life attitude in your whole life, I think. One writer said that if you want to awaken fire in others, you must be a flame yourself. And I have opinion that it is much more important not to consent to a slavery. I choose one of the definition of slavery. You can read it here in presentation, and the form of the greater slavery is when you agree that someone can disturb your peace. Then there is no victory. Every civic activities is hopeless. There is no any hope for any change. That is why I think that education is important and that it is the biggest barrier to slavery. It may be unexpected, but I think it is only a most reliable defense against the slavery is, as I said, education. And in order to be aware of the traps that lie ahead and concerning possible slavery in the 21st century, we must understand this. We can only do this by constantly educating ourselves, by in various possible ways, from a clip, from YouTube, from a book. It is my favorite way. So at the end, organization could do this, or we try to do it by radicalizing the approach or by simplifying the messages. Someone will done it in another way, and it is okay for us, but at the end of the day, you are free or not free, you know, there is no compromise. So thanks for your attention. I prepared few videos, but there is no possibility to show you right now, and I can send Samra link to them so you can see it in future if you are interested. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you a lot. This was a really interesting presentation, and yeah, as you mentioned, the videos will be uploaded to via to the Slack. So everyone join the Slack. There's a channel where we'll upload all the material so we can share, and you can also see the videos. But for now, before we start asking questions, I'll give the word to Hook with this presentation, and then at the end we can have just a wrap-up session with Q&As.
Okay.
Презентацию, или могу дать презентацию, дайте пробацию. During I start my presentation, Sergio will prepare just first my slides to be seen of other members. First of all, hello to everyone. I am Vuk Ikovic, biologist. I am member of organization CODE. I have finished my master thesis in field of environment and ecology. My master thesis enrolled on is about impact of traffic on animals. And a few years ago, I has started my PhD in freshwater ecology, focusing on conservation biology and conservation of wetland biodiversity of coastal area in Montenegro. I'm actively involved in work of both, especially in the field of environmental. In Europe and beyond, Montenegro is recognized as a country has rich biodiversity, rich number of habitats, and great diversity of flora and fauna. This is accompanied by unique ambience, unique landscape values. So great diversity in small space. So global development has caused the loss of natural resource and reduced the quality of the environment.
And sorry, can I stop you a second? We're not seeing your screen if you're sharing it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Great diversity in small place, different habitat, different big number of species in small place caused the one of the main initiative 30 years ago. So the different activities and situation in global scale, global level in the world caused some activity in Montenegro 30 years ago. So the circle of intellectuals in Montenegro 30 years ago realized that Montenegro is increasingly adapting the frame of modern capitalism, which leads to the loss of nature and well-being of society. Thus, the proposal was that Montenegro should develop itself in harmony with nature, that is, should be declared an ecological state. This proposal was not dreamers call for lost beauty, but a call and cry for survival. At that time, they wanted to show the world an example of Montenegro. Sorry?
You still didn't start your presentation, so we still are at slide 2. Not sure if that's what you.
Sorry?
I think you need to start your presentation.
Yes, I will show you next slide. Just a few more sentences.
Okay, because okay.
At that time, they wanted to show the world on example of Montenegro that development is possible without nature being hurted. This is because one society or group of individuals cannot solve the problems of species extinction or climate change. It takes the effort of humanity as a whole. At that time, the politicians in Montenegro were occupied the daily problems, and they didn't see the further future, but they saw the proclamation of Montenegro as ecological state as an good marketing. So in 1991, the government of Montenegro has declared Montenegro as ecological state. Ecological state. However, the government of Montenegro has contributed to the loss of value, thanks to which Montenegro has been declared an ecological state. So, why I say that? Because the last 30 years, the numerous forests were devastated. Today we have 20 small hydropower plants were built on untouched clean rivers, and hinterland of numerous beaches were concreted. Now I will say a few words about the configuration of Montenegro. Montenegro is predominantly a mountains country. About 70% of the country is located at an altitude of between 1,500 meters. Between 500 and 1,500 meters above sea level. Only 10% of territory is below 200 meters above sea level. Soil composition has a big influence on the constancy of flow of hydrological regime. Montenegro is part of Dinarids, so it is dominated by limestone, calcium carbonate, and this is especially represented in Adriatic catchment area, Adriatic Basin. Wherever limestone is present, there are large oscillations in the flow of water during the year. Limestone dissolves easily in the water, and this is caused numerous cracks and other various underground structures in which water has been found. So during the biggest precipitation, the river has a torrential character, and soon after the precipitation, the river has a completely different appearance due to the rapid water sinking through the limestone. This less appears on the north part of Montenegro because the gradual melting of snow makes the water level harmonized. Two main natural resources in Montenegro are forest and waters, especially mountains, lakes, and rivers. More than half of the country's surface is covered by forests, and per unit area, Montenegro has the largest number of watercourses in the region. The rivers of northern region belong to the Black Sea catchment area, and the rivers of the south belongs Adriatic catchment area. These are large rivers on the north, like Tara, Čehotina, Lin, and there are a few small rivers like Kutska River. Today we have two small hydropower plants on this river. This picture was made 2 years ago. And
dry. Sorry for interrupting. The Kutska riverbed is now completely dry for months.
Yeah.
Please do go on.
These are river of south part, Adriatic catchment area, Morača, Zeta, Cijevna, Bojana. Morača, Zeta, and Cijevna is in the central part of the Montenegro and flow through the capital city. So the Podgorica have a few natural rivers, and it is, I think, it is the main resource and main landscapes of the Podgorica. What makes Montenegro rich are the canyons that have curved these rivers. That is way rivers were often planned for construction of hydropower plants. Thus, the canyon of Piva was flooded, which was more attractive than the canyon of Tara. Today, it's planned build new dams on Morača and Komanica. Also, there are also many small rivers on coastal area of Montenegro, which makes beautiful beaches. This is Jaška. This is Jaz beach, and next to the this place is the Jaška river, which bring the sense from the mountain Lovćen. This is a Lake Piva accumulation, and now I will say something about the problems. First of all these rivers have high concentration of oxygen due to the large number of tributaries and springs, and this enabled the presence of trout fauna. So in some rivers like River Zeta, we have 3 species of trout. This biological value is at the same time a great economic potential that has not been used during last 30 years. There has been no panel policy. This resulted in the development of poaching. Other problems is channeling, concreting the riverbed, exploitation of gravel, hydropower plants, wastewater, and bed management. This is example of poaching. Big nets which catch all fish, small and bigger, and it no good for reproduction and sustainability of population. Exploitation of gravel, channeling, concreting the riverbed, wastewater, and after that we have problem with hydropower plants. The problem that is evident on the rivers of Montenegro in coastal area is concreting of their riverbeds in order to reduce flood area in increasing urban and tourist zone. This has caused habitat loss, species extinction, and shrinking beaches. The problem that is present in large streams of both the north and south part of Montenegro is exploitation of gravel and sands. This is from Morača River in capital city, Podgorica. The non-transparent way of granting concession and the lack of monitoring of exploitation has led to the fact that at the moment it is not known exactly how much raw material was extracted from the riverbed. Now we need to work primarily on remediation plans and ensuring water continuity. Therefore, first of all, it is necessary to be well acquainted with the hydrological regime of the major river flows. The problem that has been current for the last years is small hydropower plants. They are predominantly planned on the rivers of north part of Montenegro because they have favorable hydro potential for this project. the total energy production of small hydropower plants in Montenegro is 2 to 3 of the total electricity, which speaks of their economic unjustification. Due to construction of these facilities, Montenegro lost over 10 untouched rivers like Kutska River. The new government that is being formed intends to introduce a moratorium on small hydropower plants. However, it remains unclear how the already built small hydropower plants will be treated and how the compensation will be compensated. This is something that the organization code will work in the next period, primarily on the assessment of ecosystem losses, ecosystem services, and a legal solution to get out of the problem hidden under the mask of renewable energy sources. So, if any of you have any suggestions or want to be part of these activities or this research process, feel free to join us either individually or through your organizations. You have all contacts on information on organization code sites, and you can write on email info@code.org.me. And what I can say about other hydropower projects, the government in the process has not yet adopted a position on whether or not to build big hydropower plants like hydropower plant on River Komarnica, which is already part of the part of its course protected. And something about wastewater. In addition to these problems, poaching and hydropower plants, the issue of wastewater is evidently unresolved. The price of finishing obligation of Chapter 27 will cost Montenegro around €1.5 billion. More than half of these funds are needed to build a wastewater treatment system. Out 23 municipalities, only 8 have been built for wastewater treatment system, and until issue of wastewater in one until the issue of wastewater in one river is resolved, its use for tourism purposes and many others is almost completely blocked. Also, the local community does not want to cooperate with authorities until this issue is resolved, because the problem is the most visible and prevents the use of water by the local population for bathing or agriculture or other needs. So this should be one of the first steps of new government in order to recover and preserve the river. If we protect springs, lakes, and rivers from pollution, then we don't have to invest money in drinking water treatment. And more few words about small hydropower plants. On this map, you can see blue line. In the upper part of the map is the river Shekularska River. It's a small river which go into the river Lim, and down is Plavsko Lake. In Plavsko Lake we have a big population of salmon fishes, trout, and reproduction place of trout is the small river which go into the river Lin. Between Plavsko Lake and this small river is around 40 kilometers. So in a reproduction period of year, fish go from lake to the small rivers, so around 40 kilometers or more of that. And what's happened last 10 years? We have dry riverbed. This is the one of the river which go into the Lin, where we have today 2 small hydropower plants, and this is the biological minimum. And this is one of the type of fragmentation, and the investors make the fish passage, so the fish must go through to these parts. What is encouraging is that over the last 10 years, several initiatives have been launched to protect several rivers in Montenegro. Thus, Zivna was declared as natural monument, and recently the river Zeta as nature park. Also, the upper course of Komarnica, where a large hydropower plant is planned, has been declared as nature park. What is worrying? Even though the river is protected, the management has not been formed, or even though the management has been established, there is almost no difference on the ground compared to the period before the river was protected. So the key cause is the non-cooperation of institutions, pure cooperation.
Sorry, Vuk, I think we lost you right now.
Yeah, you were stuck for a minute there.
Okay, I repeat. I will repeat.
I also want to just remind you so that we have a bit of time for questions. If you can maybe start. I know that you're at the end of your presentation.
Okay, I will finish for a few minutes. The key causes of bad management is non-cooperation of institutions, poor cooperation of rangers with the local police and inspections, non-processing of criminal charges, which demotivates the local community and employees in the protected areas. Montenegro has ability to start several development directions if it leaves the rivers in their natural state. Therefore, it is necessary to make a management plan for catchment area of few rivers, like for river Tara, Tjekotina, Lin, Morača, and Bojana. It is necessary to make new fishing bases, introduce real control on fishing and base energy production, on source of sun, wind, and greater energy efficiency of all residential and commercial buildings. And if we include in all of that local activism, we know what's happened with Bukovica River or situation with Vasove Vode, where the local municipality planned to make a place for the communal waste management. So many of the projects planned by the government which posed a threat to water were not realized thanks to the citizens who physically defended the rivers. A typical example, Bukovica, And another example is Sojevoda locality, which is rich in water and underground water. Rivers and springs have been preserved in both cases. A society is society is remembered for what it has created, as well as for what it destroyed. So it is easiest to give up the fight and look for some tidy place. It makes sense. It makes sense to create a living condition for yourself, right where you put down your roots. So if we understand the rivers, then we can also love them. If we love them, then we will be able to manage them. That is it. It's time for questions and answers.
Thank you very much for the very interesting presentation and this last really impactful last few words. Yeah, we've seen amazing places. I'm even more sad now that we couldn't really be there right now in Montenegro and actually enjoy all this nature. But I guess we'll have hopefully more chances in the future. But also, as you mentioned, there were also a lot of pressures on the rivers, not just hydropower, but also gravel extraction, pollution, and so on. So there's many things going on that might threaten rivers or are threatening rivers. So we don't really have much time for questions. I would just like you to both of you ask very quickly, what's your opinion on, there's been a lot of developments this year, starting from COVID, which kind of changed the whole year, the very recent election that happened in Montenegro, which you both partially mentioned during your presentations. What's your outcome? Do you see it's going, is this a chance for stuff to change, or do you think nobody will really change? And Vuk, could you maybe stop sharing the screen so we can also see you guys talking?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
What about situation of COVID? I think the Montenegrin institutions didn't learn more from this situation, and before the COVID, some Montenegrin institutions started to solve the problem with poaching, and it stopped last few months, and they said, okay, we will wait what happens until the end of the year and until we finish the elections and make new government, and after that we will see what we can happen, what we can do. And I think it's no good, because anything what's
Ciao, Vladimir.
Ciao, Svima. Hi to everybody.
If I have a minute, I'd like to introduce him, because that's now the most active case maybe regarding hydropower plants in Montenegro. It started during the COVID, and he's from Bare Krajski. That's the village where the investors are trying to build 3 small hydropower plants and 3 small streams that make a tributary to Tara River. So we'll have a discussion in a bit about corruption and everything, because we also have Daniel here. He's from Leštenica River, that's also an open case, and Dennis will probably join in a minute. So we'll talk about it later, after we finish the first part. I'm just happy that you managed to join.
Okay, guys, I think most are back, and unfortunately, we still want to finish on time. So I would, even though you didn't get the chance to finish to answer your question, I would maybe just finish this first session with the talks and get into the panel discussion. Nina, you had some very interesting questions. You guys might have had some others. Maybe you can just write them down Slack and we can get them to answer them, or in the chat here, and maybe Vuk and Sredan can still answer while we start the panel discussion.
She wrote them.
Okay, great. So again, thank you very much, Vuk and Sredan, for the interesting presentations. And like I said, if someone has any questions, please let us know, and then we can forward them, or they can also join the Slack and keep answering.
Yeah, like as mentioned, we were gonna do a poll because now indeed we have a panel discussion coming up, right? But just to get a bit of a feeling who we have here, I have prepared 3 questions for you, and we were gonna have an easy function, but we can do it this way. I think everyone can raise their hand.
You don't hear anything.
Right?
Sorry, Vera, we lost you for a second.
How is that possible?
Can you repeat your last sentence, please?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Right. I'm now next to Ellie.
Vera, I can do the poll. Vera, I can do
it should be right. Quick. Did any one of you play the Valley, the game? So last year we made a game that is about corruption, and we had a printable version. So we were curious if somebody played it. And just to test this out, we would like you to raise your hand if you did. Where is the screen now? I think I'm bailing out of this idea. I don't know how to do it. Let's continue with the panel discussion now. It was a good try.
I will, yes, sorry, this was not planned, so we're also adjusting to the new situation. I will please ask everyone which is not from the panel to maybe turn off the camera, so we hopefully have slightly a better connection. But I saw everyone already did, so that's no problem. And I don't have the overview right now, but I just introduce all the panelists, and then let me figure out if everyone is here. So Vera was mentioning the game, The Valley. It's a game that was developed last year by a student, Kasper Sluiter, and maybe some of you played it. If you haven't, please do it. Ask if you haven't got the email and the info material. Please send us an email. Ask us for the game. It's a really fun game to play. And what we wanted to do with this panel today, we invited some experts to talk about the huge issue of, so I guess the poll is actually working. So while I keep introducing, answer the question, we can see, we can maybe get also your feedback in this sense. And let me please introduce you our panelists. So we have with us Pippa Gallop, that works as the Southeast Europe Energy Advisor for Bankwatch, and in her work, and specializing especially in coal and hydropower in the Western Balkans. And she has been looking, amongst others, into how the financial system, both at the global and the local scale, plays in the development of hydropower. Welcome, Pippa. We also have Özge with us. She was based in Turkey as a researcher in geography, sociology, she worked on her PhD thesis while based in Berlin, studying and researching how what role corruption played in the hydropower boom in Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Balkans more generally. Welcome, Özge. Are you here? Sorry, I cannot.
Here.
Okay, hi. Let's also welcome Professor Milenko Popovic. He's a professor at the Faculty for Business Studies at the Mediterranean University in Montenegro. And he's been, amongst others, also dealing with the economic implications that hydropower has in the development of countries such as Montenegro, and also advising NGOs such as the WWF and others. Welcome, Milenko. Are you here? Okay. So, well, we'll try. He probably didn't get back yet, but we'll.
He didn't have probably channel to receive the invitation links. Can you mail it to him, please?
Can you send him an email? So he'll also join us, hopefully again.
Yeah, I'll get on it.
And finally, as Sam already mentioned, Denis Mekic. Sorry for my very bad pronunciation of all your names today. Danilo Murdak and Vladimir Novovic. Activists all have been working on different rivers, trying to stop or effectively stopping some hydropower plants from being built in the valleys. So welcome everyone. Are you guys all here? Denis, Danilo, Vladimir?
Yes.
Great. This will be a panel discussion. I invite everyone to ask questions. We unfortunately don't have the Q&A chat anymore, so just write them on the chat. We keep track of them. Or we can actually invite you people to ask them directly. This is meant to be a discussion, so we have experts here from different fields and also that bring their personal experience regarding corruption in hydropower development. We will try to finish again on time at 16 as planned. So we have about 40 minutes to discuss all of this. I'll start with some questions just to start the discussion, and then I'll give the word to the public, to all of you, to ask your own questions so we can further discuss the topic. Let's go to some of you are not from Montenegro, so I'll zoom in slowly. My first question goes to Pippa. So as I mentioned before, you've been studying and trying to understand how global and local financial schemes affect hydropower. What's your experience in terms of is this a completely different factor than corruption, or these two different topics go hand in hand, or what's your experience regarding this?
Thanks. Yeah, there's a lot of drivers behind the hydropower boom in the region, and a lot of it is kind of basically twisting of EU policy, kind of outdated EU policy, in a way that suits the local business interests. So yeah, the two main financial streams that we've been following are who is giving the loans to actually build the hydropower plants, And the other thing is about the subsidy system, which is paying the operators to actually produce the electricity. And neither of these is inherently associated with corruption, but we've definitely found, especially in the case of the subsidy schemes, that a lot of the people benefiting have been quite close to governments, and in one case even in the government. So I mean, basically the whole background is related to the kind of overall global move to increase the share of renewable energy. So this scheme called feed-in tariffs, in which the electricity is bought at the guaranteed quite high price from the hydropower plants, at least from the small ones under 10 megawatts. This is kind of nothing irregular in theory. I mean, Germany had such a scheme, many of the EU countries had such a scheme. So there was nothing inherent in this that that automatically equates it with corruption. But the whole goal of the scheme was to make investment in renewable energy much lower risk for investors. And then each government was free to kind of set up the scheme in the way they liked. So whereas countries like Spain, Germany, and others kind of used it to stimulate all kinds of different renewable energies like solar and wind, the Balkan countries kind of knew that they don't really have any solar companies much to speak of. They don't really have wind companies. But they have a lot of construction companies who could get involved in the hydro business, which is kind of much less technically complicated. You need a lot of concrete and some turbines, and more or less with some help from some specialized companies, it's quite easy to get into. So this is basically what happened in the region. We produced a report about this last year, showing that in 2018, more than 70% of the feed-in tariffs in the Western Balkan 6 countries went to hydropower, and in previous years it was even higher because wind and solar was even less developed. But in fact, this form of energy, at least the small hydropower plants, only produce 3% of electricity in the region. So it's been a huge amount of money given for very little results. And what we could see, Montenegro was a particularly blatant case where you could see, thanks to the work done by Mans and others in the country, that really a lot of the people who got involved in this business were business guys with already close relations to the government. And yeah, the son of the president has a small hydro company also in North Macedonia. The previous deputy prime minister responsible for economy had a whole, like, more than 20 hydro plants of his own. So it's not kind of across the board. I mean, there's a lot of small little anonymous companies getting the money who we don't know really much about them, but there were also a lot of very much well-connected guys getting this money. The good thing now is that the EU, a lot of the EU countries realized that this kind of support for renewables is first of all really expensive once the schemes get going, and second of all, it's also not necessary. I mean, the whole point is just to stimulate the investments in the beginning. So the EU rules have now changed, and they are getting away from this kind of support. So what we are trying to do now is to make sure that the EU pushes harder for the countries in this region also to change their rules, because they actually are all participating in something called the Energy Community Treaty. So they are actually all obliged to apply the EU rules on subsidies, but they're just dragging their feet because it doesn't suit them.
Okay, so it's like always more complicated than actually seems. It's not just black and white, but there's a lot of different Thank you. Just to get to know the other panelists a bit, I would, so as I mentioned before, Özge has been studying the relationship between corruption and hydropower development boom, and she published just recently her PhD thesis with a really strong name. The thesis was titled "The On-Paper Hydropower Boom." Can you please tell us in just a few sentences what did you mean by that? What's the story behind this?
Sure. Hello, everyone. To sum up the thesis, will be a bit difficult, but I can at least summarize what I mean by on paper. When I first went to Bosnia and Herzegovina, I didn't know that many of these plans of hydropower were actually not proceeding or being materialized. So my actual aim was to look behind the processes of developing or like building these hydropowers. But then I realized that most of the projects have been remaining on paper for many years, some even for 20 years, and I started to dig in what was the reason behind that. And of course, many reasons why corruption takes place in any country also equals with the reasons what I found out about the hydropower sector in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the first reason was that that subsidies, of course, attracted so-called business people and then they started to obtain concessions. But as we know, that obtaining concessions in countries where corruption is so rife is just so simple. You don't even have to submit proper feasibility studies. You can just go to the concession committee and then you can apply for it, and then they wouldn't even check. And of course, when we talk about the former Yugoslavian countries, it's more complicated because then people start using data from previous pre-war times. So it's so simple because there is no data in between collected. And even if they try to prepare a proper feasibility study, it's not easy. And then this made a boom already, like business people obtaining several concessions at once. And then they realized that there is not enough funding for that. First of all, there is not enough funding to build these projects, that all of these, maybe some, but not for all. The second one is that with the improper feasibility studies, sometimes they even face situations that they cannot actually build hydropower plants there because there is not enough water or hydropower source. This is a very minor reason, but still effective. Or they started to obtain concessions not to build them, but to trade them. It's a concession trading in Bosnian case, and I know that in many other, especially in Montenegro too and Serbia too, that we can see these cases, which means that I, as a, let's say, a business person, I might have obtained this concession with the will of actually building this hydropower, or maybe I just obtained with the idea of trading it in the future to some mostly foreign business people coming from countries around and not aware of the situation. Because if you can obtain a concession, it means that its pre-feasibility has been done, which means that you shouldn't really face a shocking result which cannot bring any development. So sorry, I'm just talking a lot about this case. It's really a complex process, as no surprise for many of us, I believe. And I concluded that many of these projects, the hydropower boom projects, cannot be materialized because there's not enough funding, there's not enough hydropower resource, and also there's a lot of corruption going on which blocks all the processes within each other, like in front of each other, which doesn't mean that there is a socio-ecological disaster might not happen because there's still a lot of hydropower plants have been built. But what I was trying to highlight, look, these projects have been for these projects, a lot of business people obtained concessions, and these business people are mostly those are known as tycoons in the region, which means that they're powerful actors. They're mostly bureaucrats or like people who are in power in politics, and they're not going to give up so easily because they couldn't build this hydropower plants, but this might eventually cause a problem in terms of water rights. So maybe they will not be able to build this hydropower plants, but they might potentially ask for other possibilities to make use of these concessions. And this could be like selling water or building, and I don't know, any activity which might eventually block the locals' water rights. So I hope that this wasn't too complicated and too long.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you want to hear more about Özge's PhD and her research, just last week we had a science chat with her. Vera just posted the link. So please feel free to watch that, where she goes in details into all of this. So we've seen now through the few words we heard from Pippa and from Özge that have been researching corruption and hydropower development. It's a complicated issue. We've seen right now, it can also mean sometimes that it can actually be a positive thing. This on paper hydropower boom, it means that there's a lot of interest, but sometimes many of these projects do not get built, even though this might actually bring some problems further on. What I wanted to ask now to our three activists that are here from Montenegro is if you can share some few words, tell us about what rivers you've been working on, just in a sentence, what's the situation there, and if corruption even played a role of any kind. I'll maybe start with Dennis, which has had success with this campaign. So he successfully managed to actually stop the power plant from being built. If you just want to tell us a few words about that, and especially if you had some issues with corruption or if that played a role. Is he still here, Dennis?
He just left. I don't know why. I just sent him a message to yeah. He.
Okay. You need to unmute yourself, Dennis.
Okay, I had bad connection. And can you please just repeat what you said, because I didn't hear it.
Sorry, yeah. No, so I just wanted to ask you and then Danilo and Vladimir if you can just tell us in a few words about your campaign, in your case a successful one, and if corruption played any role in both the planned hydropower plants and the whole campaign as a overall.
Okay, I'm coming from Bielopolje. We fought for and struggled to save the river of Bistrica. It's one of the biggest tributaries of River Lin, and thanks God we saved the river Bistrica. I will give you the example from my experience how we in live had examples with these investors who came who choose many methods to example with money influence or by example the locals to have to open the way to take to take all these dirty jobs to continue. Example they wanted to give for in the beginning when the locals of the Bistrica, because they needed the approval from the government to continue the example the works of dams. This investigator come in the secrets example in the secrets meetings with the locals and give them money, or also some another locals try to afraid them, example that they have some securities, or if they start to oppose to them, that they will make the problems. And with all this, we was very open and successful, because we use the Facebook Live. With all this, we use the Facebook Live and show example to our to everybody how they example when they have a secret meetings. We show with Facebook Live what they doing. When they come with security and start to afraid the locals, we also show what they doing. And because of that, we show first to our citizens who are these who are these investigators, what they're doing. And after that, we organize the protest, and we have a very big support from all citizens. And because of that, we had a big protest, which we made the I can say the pressure on the Ministry of Economy to cancel this dam, and we successful. And I can say that we was successful in the business because we use a lot of Facebook Live and have a direct communication with our citizens to show what they're doing. Also, we had the support with protest, and we made the pressure on government to cancel these dams. And this is all our experience with all these investigators who try to lobby, or with money, or any kind of method of afraid the citizens. They wanted to take these improvements, but they didn't success. And we are, thanks God, we saved the business. And this is my experience. And thanks.
Thank you a lot. And yeah, also really encouraging to hear that even though the situation was complicated, you guys managed to develop as a successful campaign. I wanted to now ask Danilo maybe to share a few words.
Hi everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I can share my experience with Ljastanica River. I'm also coming from Bijelopolje as Denis, and the Ljastanica is about 40 kilometers from Bistrica, so on the other side of the Lim Valley. It is much more smaller river, and with less local people in that village. There was only about 100 people in the village where Ljastanica is going on. So one of the problem was there's not too many of us. Locals are quite old, not too many families, not too many young people. So it was in the start, that was a big challenge how to manage to fight, let me say like that. And at the beginning, 4 years ago, 2016, our government made a concession agreement, or a concession. They just sign a paper where they gave us concession to so-called businessmen without any study, beside one that proved that Ljastanica has power potential. So everything what is necessary to make a concession agreement is that one river has potential to produce power. That was only study that our government made before they made a concession agreement. That was in 2016, and the first public interest was shown 2 years ago when we have a public discussion. And at the beginning, we came with some trust in our government, in our local and state government, but they ignored all our work, and they simply never answer our questions on that public discussion. So all that trust just disappeared at the moment. And that was the moment when we realized that government and local government only goal is to make that hydropower plant. What is so special about Ljestonica, that they are planning to start a pipeline at the very source of the Ljestonica river. So where the river is born, they're gonna catch everything and pull into pipeline. So about 4 kilometers long pipeline, as they were planning, gonna whole river beside 1 kilometer will be in a pipeline. This process is still going on. What left is a building permission. So only one document is left, so they can start with construction work. But I really believe that our new government gonna stop this project because after 30 years we have a new government, and now we are starting, I believe, a new era in Montenegro. So for me, I believe there is no any chance that so-called businessmen that are connected with the old government can make any one project like this. 2 years ago, we have several protests, media appearance, and so on. This process, biggest success is that our readiness to fight will growing on through the years. At the beginning, let me be honest with you, even I did not believe that can we do something. But in the next year, our optimism and willingness to fight were much higher and higher and higher. So that is a process. And in last 4 years, we managed some great success. We are connected with other river defenders from Plav, from Berane. We made connections with non-government sectors. We made some friends. And in Montenegro, there is a big network of river defenders right now, I believe. So well, that's about it.
Thank you. So it's really interesting to hear that although corruption or the whole process behind can take different forms, when people come together and networks form, this can help a lot. And especially now there is a bit maybe of hope with the new election. Same question to you, Vladimir. Just again, did you face any corruption? Was it an issue in your campaign? Is it defining it in a way?
Actually, I don't know where to start. All of you already told everything from the study and that thesis to some personal and local experiences. Right now, we stopped the works on this building of 3 power plants on the rivers. There are actually small rivers, Crnja, Ljubaštica, and Čestogaz. And during our fight, we found out a lot of issues in legal documents that and permits that they issued for these small hydro plants. A lot of a lot of things are not correct, but regarding the corruption, it's something that we cannot prove. But from the very beginning, this concessionaire and contractor made probably the wrong step. Everything that they did secretly with the local persons, not with the community or something like that, to present their project or to present benefits or the wrong things about it. They visit every family at their home and then offer some money for the land, for the approval they wanted to employ their members or something like that in some sort of, for some works or something like that. So actually, everything that they are using right now and that they are used before, it's wrong, and we are assuming that they did some things regarding the corruptions. How we can assume that because first permit was issued 2010. No any works on the terrain on any river was for a long period of time, like until 2016 or something like that. And after that, government wanted to cancel this concession agreement, and they made some terrain works on some small terrain, like placed 2 or 3 pipes, make some hole, and picture that, get the government, how to say that, the government how to, the inspections for the building of the site, and that was the main issue, that the government reassigned this concession to this for these 2 power plants. We assuming that somebody was lying or prepared some lie for the government inspection, and they just misled the government officials, so they signed the agreement again. And we also don't have any, not any, but we don't have all the documentation for this work, and because of that, we are still waiting government officials to give us the copies of those documents, which they are not giving us. I don't know why. Probably because there is some facts or something like that that we can use against them. The main issue here is that maybe they have some papers. We found some issues that are, according to us, are legal and can led to canceling the concession agreement and all other permits. But what I can say in front of the locals are very angry about all these projects, and about the way they try to catch these like streams. It's not they are not rivers, that are streams, only water flows, small water flows, small rivers, and they are very sure that they will fight against this till the end. You know, even locals are mentioning giving their lives for that. So actually, I think that this fight is just a beginning, at the beginning, but we will probably give it all of us.
Yeah, thank you a lot for. It's really interesting to see what's happening and how communities are coming together. And one thing you mentioned, which I think is probably really important, is the sentence you said where corruption cannot be proved, where I guess we're talking about something that we might know it's there, and we have a feeling that's happening, but nobody can really prove it. Just to have a quick, just to get everyone's opinion now, we managed to get the poll back on. So we wanted to ask 2 quick questions to everyone, so that we also have a bit of a feeling of what's going on in everyone's country or lives, so to say. So do you feel corruption is an issue in your country, and is it necessary to tackle corruption in order to protect our rivers and nature? And now please feel free to ask any questions, write them on the chat, or raise your hand. You can digitally raise your hand and ask it yourselves. And in a few seconds, we will get to the results from the poll, just to just get a glimpse of how people perceive this, and if it's just a global phenomena or it's more concentrated in some places than others. We've seen it's definitely a problem in Montenegro.
Yeah.
Almost everyone has answered. Sorry, I was just saying, almost everyone has answered the poll, so it should be closed soon.
Yeah, I'd like to say just we were supposed to have Professor Milenko here. He did some studies on, from economical aspect on small hydropower plants for WWF Adria, but we lost him because of our issue that happened. And he did a lot of research. So if we get manage to get that, we'll also post it on Slack. And what's interesting, like yesterday, the newest maneuver from the corrupted government about the Barek Rajske, where Vladimir is fighting, is like the investor like proposed, because they saw when they set an ultimatum for the local set an ultimatum, you have to remove you have to put the riverbed as it used to be and remove your machines from here. You have 15 days, and day after they came with the proposal like, we'll give you like 2.5% of income yearly if you let us build our small hydropower plants. That should like.
Yes, that's very funny thing. You know, our member of local community and president of a local community just on that meeting with citizens let people know that only small amount of money from the funds or something like that for that are given to Montenegro or from Montenegro to some businessmen can bring life to the villages, you know, to the rural areas. And he probably misunderstood that we tried to offer something to him actually, and he used that probably journalist some wrong sentence and then offer us 2.5%. Actually, the main thing is regarding the locals. They don't need any money if they lose water. So water is meaning of life, and there is no life without water. So actually, we don't need any money. If they took the rivers in 10 kilometers of the pipes, these 3 rivers are you know, it's planned to have a dry bed, a river dry bed for 10 kilometers of that 3 rivers. So what should we use that money for? To buy a water in that bottle, so and bring to our homes. It's funny thing, you know. There's no any discussion about that. No drop of water will be used and given to anybody from this location.
May I ask a question to those who were on field as an activist? Can I?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Vladimir, I see your point too, but there's also a group of people who claim that they cannot eat the pristine nature, you know? They need money, and most of the people, they're having economic problems, and they're elderly people most of the times, yeah, in the Balkans region. I mean, my experience is in Bosnia, but I believe this is something we can generalize for the region by itself, Southeast European countries. And this is also one of the problems why some people want to sell their land. And my experience in Turkey shows me that, so I haven't really have gone so far with the Bosnian research. I haven't visited places where they already have hydropower plants, but my experience in Turkey is that those who have big lands, they sell their land and they just migrate, yeah? And those who doesn't have enough land to sell and also enough for them to resettle somewhere else, they remain in the place, and they're the ones who suffer most. So they cannot sell their lands because maybe the project didn't come to to that part. Yeah, the project area didn't involve their land. And most of the time they say, like, I wish I had a land within the project area as well. So this is also one of the problems that sometimes we neglect looking at. Why do these people want to sell their land for a hydropower plant despite the fact that they're aware of all these problems? I think this is also one of the things we focus so much on the impacts, which we should definitely do. But we also, like in the village that I was doing my research, for instance, people were against hydropower plants in the beginning. And they were saying that, oh, it was within the Una National Park in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And they were saying that, oh, we don't want hydropower plants. But then they changed their mind. And those who were like fighting in front of the line, they changed so dramatically. They started to say that those activists, they don't ask our opinion. They just do what they think which is right. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to
I understand.
agitate the situation, but trying to express what they say. It doesn't have to be my opinion. Just like the general opinion, what I observed when I was at the field about the activists, they just do what they see, what is right, and they don't even ask our opinion when they say we don't want hydropower plants here. And in the world, not only in the Balkans region, the activism.
Let's get just
sorry,
keep the discussion going. I'll ask maybe one of you guys to answer based on your experience.
Okay, I can just try to shortly explain. We had a meeting before we start our legal fight against it, and we have majority of the local people, and I'm one of the local people. So actually, you know, we don't want that some activists doing some things or something in our names without our permission. So actually. Most of the people from the local community are against this because these are small rivers. And regarding the poor people that are living on that area, yes, that's correct. They can sell their land, but they cannot sell the water. You know, if I'm selling some part of my land, that's okay. I can sell it to everyone or to no one or something like that, and I just need the highest price. But I cannot sell the water. Water is how to say it. Water is there is no any ownership for the water. Water is all of us. So we need.
No, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. No, I was just going to mention this might be also country specific. Because
yes. So actually, we know that some people are living poorly and they sell their land, and that's not an issue. That's okay. But the issue is because if they make these small hydropower plants, there will be no any water. No springs, and these are not areas that are, you know, with well built infrastructure or something like that. So their land, after building these small hydropower plants, will be less priced than before. You know, nobody will buy another piece of the land without electricity or water for the first. So actually, you know, that's the issue.
Thank you. Maybe I would like to also ask Pippa, since you might have maybe a broader overview of what's going on in the Balkans generally, if you can also comment on this.
Yeah, I think it's very much case by case. I mean, I think in the early days, a lot of the people maybe were kind of persuaded by the arguments that this will bring jobs and everything. And even now there are communities who are not opposing the plants, but I think the things change very rapidly when people see how things turned out in real life, especially if it was in a neighboring community. I mean, a lot of the communities are very remote. So if it happened on the other side of the Balkans or in another part of the country, they maybe don't see it. But if it happened like 2 valleys away, they really start to stand up. And so, I mean, I think indeed, like was mentioned earlier, a lot of these projects really didn't, like nothing happened with them for ages. I mean, I remember asking one of the activists in Bosnia about the problem of small hydro plants, like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. And this person even said, wow, you know, they got a load of concessions, they don't build anything. This is a corruption problem, not an environmental problem. And unfortunately, it turned out that this was only part of the story, because indeed, a lot of the plants, they took ages, but they start to get built. So my impression is that the communities learn mostly from each other about what happened. But indeed, I mean, even some communities that are very close together don't react in the same way. Like, for example, in Vojnica in Bosnia and Herzegovina, they had amazing battle that hardly anybody from outside even knew about it. They were defending their river for more than a year by actually staying on the land, on the spot. And they managed in the end to actually get the concessions for 5 of the small hydros cancelled through their battle. But then in the neighboring valley, nobody did anything when there was another plan. So I mean, it's really case by case and depending on the people. But what I mean, we see really, like I follow different environmental issues, not only hydropower, and I've never seen, yeah, I'm just going to finish.
Yeah, sorry.
I've never seen any other issue in this region that raised normal people on their feet like this. None. I mean, it's really coming from the ground.
Thank you. Yeah, as we see, it's case. It changes from case to case, and so there's many issues involved, and it can also change depending on the rules that the country has. So we, just to get back to the poll, you guys have probably seen the answers. So 80% of the people has answered that yes, they feel that corruption is an issue in your country, and about almost 100% said that it's important to tackle it to protect rivers and nature. So we see this is not just a Montenegro, a Balkan issue, but it's more of a global case, which is, I guess, not nice to see, but at least we know it's an important issue to tackle. Now it's unfortunately 16. I would ask maybe to prolong this for 10 more minutes, as we had some technical issues before. Of course, if you need to go, feel free to leave. So we'll have just time for 1-2 more questions, and then close the session. I just wanted to ask, well, if everyone has questions, please feel free to share them on the chat. I think one thing that might be super interesting. Yeah, just.
Sorry, David. I just wanted to also say this question I find really interesting. Do you feel corruption is an issue in your country? And nobody said no. So everyone said yes or hardly, but nobody feels that it's not an issue in their country. So I just thought that was interesting to point out. Thank you, David.
Yes, that's definitely an interesting. Vera has a question to ask, so maybe she can ask it directly.
Right, cool. Yeah, we've been talking quite a bit about the involvement of local people, right? And now we're here as a river collective. We're trying to get the communities like to understand what's happening, and actually this like learning from the other community, but also learning from science, also learning from every different discipline, because we believe that everything is important, right? But as you mentioned, Vladimir, like it's cool that it's local people that actually stand up, so it's not the activists from outside starting to influence, but we are kind of partly, right? We also have our home rivers, but also we try to get this like worldwide feeling that free-flowing rivers are more important. What can we do? Like, do you have the feeling that we can actually contribute as outsiders loving rivers?
Yes. Actually, I just answered one question regarding that. People are changing their minds. In this case, they will not change their minds because we are not interested in any goods or any money. Actually, we near these rivers, we have one river which is potentially will be used for the small hydropower plants, and we have in like 20 kilometers from there one which is already building, and nobody is against that from the local peoples, and that's the wrong thing according to us. But we cannot tell anything to that people because that's their own will. In this case, which we actually decided to fight back these wrong plans and these wrong projects, we actually just decided that, and we are physically on the field, but we don't have any knowledge. We don't have any like logistics or something like that, or experience how to fight this back. So actually, we are asking from all activists, from all NGOs or some organizations that are doing this to help us as much as they can, in legal issues, in I don't know, in some other issues on the field. Maybe we can do something, maybe about the presentation of this problem to the local community, to the government community, to the whole Europe. Actually, we need help. Any help is needed in our case. Actually, we had that luck that in Montenegro we have some NGOs and activists that are just came on the site and help us at the very beginning. But any other help is great. So,
thank you. Yeah, since time is running out, I wanted to maybe just ask Nina, because she posed some really interesting question at the beginning that were meant, I guess, more for the first lectures, but I think they would probably fit in really well here. So if Nina, you want to ask them yourself, or otherwise I can.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Nina.
Thank you for a really informative discussion and meeting. I will be short with my questions. They really did regard the first part with the presentations from Srdjan and Vuk, but anybody who feels qualified here from the panelists is also can also answer as far as I'm concerned. I was just wondering regarding the gravel exploitation from the rivers here in Montenegro. I have no information on which body in Montenegro is responsible for giving these licenses, and is there a body that monitors which company do the companies that do the gravel exploitation take the gravel beyond the limits or stuff like this? And is there illegal gravel exploitation? I assume yes, but I'm just wondering in what percent. So that's the first question for anybody.
So yeah, maybe if the Montenegro, Danilo, Dennis.
I have no information on that, and that was something maybe Vuk was supposed to answer, but he's not here. But we can try to reach him and find out about it.
Thank you. But I think this question, besides of the data, we'll try to get them answered. This still poses interesting question, because we've been speaking mostly about hydropower, but there is many other issues. For example, gravel extraction that might also be done illegally. So maybe Danilo, if you want to add something.
I just like to try to answer on Vera question. It was very interesting for me. How do you guys can help us? I'm speaking in generally, not about Lještanica. University in Podgorica, University of Montenegro, I cannot find a single nice word to them. So Science Academy, our university, Faculty of Biology, and so on, they did not make a systematic effort. We should not depend on the locals only. Like you guys say, some of them are poor and so on, but university needs to start systematic answer on that question. So if you have any way to make some pressure on university, that may be a solution. And the second one is about is about corruption. We cannot find big fish, you know. But what we did about Lješanjica, that we find a small clerks, officials in local government, in ministry, and we did some criminal charges against them. And nobody is feeling comfortable when we find some criminal acts about them. So on every decision, on every document is a sign, and we are looking for a small person in the chain. So that is what we can do. We cannot find a big corruption and the flow of money, but we can find a single document and do criminal charges. That's about it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I just want to add something. I think the new government, since one of the coalition, because it's 3 coalitions that are part of the new government. One of them was, as you heard before from Vuk and Srđan and everyone, is planning to ban building of all small hydropower plants. So I think that's going to be a job for them actually, to find a big fish and to systematically stop this, or find a way to make it sustainable.
Yeah, definitely interesting developments right now. So unfortunately, we have to close the discussion, even though it was getting particularly interesting now. For any further question, if you want to keep discussing, just join the Slack. We have a space, a campfire channel just for that. Just keep discussing. I want to thank you, all the panelists, for being here today and sharing their stories and their experience. And thank you, everyone. And I will now give the word to Vera for some final conclusive words. And yeah, thanks again.
That sounds like a big honor. Thank you, David, for moderating this whole session. And I think a really lot of good points came up and interest, understand better how we can actually be helpful. And we would love to keep discussing this with also the activists, with the experts, everyone together. So I'm really excited about later this week on Thursday, we have a day that we have the student projects. So everyone that registered for the student service camp, we're going to have them together and we're going to discuss ideas, and hopefully we can actually next year come to Montenegro and imply some of those ideas. And it would be really cool to have your input there also. So if you can join us on Slack, also Vladimir and Danilo and Danis, that would be really amazing. Yeah, I hope we can all keep learning from each other here, and thereby slowly really work for free-flowing rivers, and that we can get this value of free-flowing rivers higher, instead of people saying oh, you can get a concession if there's potential energy. We do think a river is a bit more than potential energy. Cool, thanks all for joining. I think it was really interesting, and I hope we can keep the conversations going here and on Slack. And I also just posted the link to become a member. It would be cool to have more people actively involved. So yeah, looking forward to the rest of the week and to getting to know all of you better. And thanks for all the panelists who actually joined this discussion and give some really cool input.
Thanks.
That's it then. Thanks, and we'll be in touch. See ya.